just seen in the previous insert the Tonga Mall disaster, and one wonders, could we possibly see more of this if our skills situation in the construction industry is not sorted out?
Well, unfortunately, it does look like this is something that we could experience once again in the country. We have conducted a skills survey as Master Builder South Africa simply because there has been major concerns coming out of the industry regarding the skills shortages in the country. And if we look at the latest levels of surveys that are coming out, the average age of a qualified artisan in the country is 58. So that tells us that we do not have young people coming into the building industry and choosing it as a career. But secondly, those that are already in the industry do not have the necessary effective training behind them to ensure that the buildings or the projects that are being undertaken with the necessary skills.
And let's talk about that group. I mean, where does the onus lie? One would imagine you have bodies like the Federation of Civil Engineering Contractors, you have the government. Where are we going wrong?
Well, the onus for training people, or young people in particular, in the building industry lies with all parties. You know, it's come to a situation now where it's no longer just the role of government to ensure that young people are being trained. Neither is it just the responsibility of employers within the industry. So what we have seen, for instance, is that the vocational schools, which traditionally were the training ground of artisan trades within the industry, have now they are no longer in existence. We have seen a number of smaller, ineffective training facilities coming into play. We also do have FETs, which have gone a long way, of course, into trying to assist in this regard. But in actual fact, what we do need to do is to go back to the drawing board, bring back the vocational skills, because it's not every young person who is at school who will go on to university or will follow the academics. A number of young people need to be channeled into different vocations, which will include the building industry. And I must say that we have been encouraged, particularly by the state president in his State of the Nation address, where he is also recognizing, or at least the government is being to recognize, that vocational training is absolutely critical in this country.
But it's the quality of that vocational training that's been a nagging requirement by many stakeholders. How are we on the quality of that training?
Well, the survey does show that quality is one of those issues that needs to be looked at, particularly with regards to bricklaying, carpentry, and some concrete-related skills that are required in the industry. And I would say it goes back to the industry in this regard, because FETs or any other training facility may provide as much training as they possibly can, but if the people that are coming into the industry do not speak to the relevant skills that are required, then there is clearly a clear disconnect there. So I would say that there is a need for the employers themselves to speed up and to reinforce their training mechanisms. And there's also a need for academic institutions to speak to the employers and the industry as a whole, so that we ensure that academic institutions, as and when they produce these young people or the skills that will go into the sector, they're actually producing skills that will go on to build the required infrastructure in the country.
Do we have enough regulation in this country to prevent someone who's not qualified building or constructing a building? As simple as that.
Well, I'm happy to say we have more than enough regulations. I think the legislative framework in this country is quite excellent. But where I think there is a problem is when we actually get to the monitoring aspects of this legislation. So you can put legislation in place, but if you don't have the necessary inspections that are required in terms of that legislation, and those inspectors are not trained accordingly, then that's where you find the disconnect. So we've got the necessary legislation. We just need to go back to the drawing board and train our people, whether it's the actual artisans and apprentices, or whether it's even the inspectors themselves that are employed by government, to ensure that ultimately they pass the right kind of building that people can inhabit.
All right, just a few seconds before you go. We've got this massive infrastructure drive that the country is undertaking. Just very quickly from you, what would be the most important thing to get the skills on track for this industry as we embark on that drive?
Well, like I said, I'm quite happy to report that we are encouraged as an industry that we are starting on the right track. Starting with the state president reporting that we are going back to vocational skills training. And I'm also quite happy to say that as the industry, we are now increasing our interaction with the academic institutions, not only the universities, but the training colleges themselves, to ensure that both academia as well as the industry speak to the skills needs in the country.
All right, Executive Director from Master Builders SA, Tumi Dlamini, thanks indeed for your time.
Thank you very much, Devin.